Good evening, otherworldlies. This is Juliana Angel, your dark mask diva. Alright, you guys, well, I've done a lot of different types of work, and that's how I know I'd rather be a housewife. Okay, so the hardest type of work I've ever done was working in the hospitality industry. Alright, so here's something I need to let you guys know. The hardest type of work ever probably is being a waitress. Alright, so if you guys go into a restaurant, do not ever give your waitress a hard time. Like, if you give your waitress a hard time, you are a piece of garbage. Okay, don't ever give your waitress a hard time. Alright, it is a really hard job. I don't think you guys realize what kind of a hard job it is. Alright, do not give your waiter a hard time. Do not give your server a hard time, period. It is a really hard job. Alright, I have been with people who have given their server a hard time, and I'm embarrassed to be hanging out with that person. I'm like, do you have any idea how hard their job is? Seriously, my mother and grandmother waited tables, and they would tell me it is a really hard job. I've worked in restaurants. Any position in a restaurant is a hard job. Okay, I've seated people. I was a hostess and I seated people. That was hard enough. I didn't even want to be a waitress because I would hear these stories from my mother and my Grammy, and they would come home and they're like, Juju, because Juju's my nickname, they're like, do not be a waitress, Juju, like whatever you do. And I'm like, I work different jobs in the restaurant, and I don't want to be a waitress. I see what they go through. I mean, I would be a hostess and seat people at the table and just get sexually harassed. So I'm thinking, I don't want to be taking people's orders. And I mean, one guy just grabbed my ass. Okay, so can you just imagine what would happen? So no. Okay, I have worked drive-through, okay, in fast food restaurants, and people come through the drive-through and they ask stupid questions. You know, like if I can give them extra this, extra that, without charging them. No. And they ask in stupid ways. Of course, you know, they might be high or whatever, or they just might be weirdos. But no, I have to charge you for that. It's my job. Okay, what am I going to do? Turn around and be like, oh, hey, can you guys like put extra this and that and get in trouble with the supervisor and all this, and I'll get in trouble too for not charging them? Yeah, can you just be cool and do that? No, bro, we can't do that. Okay, we're making minimum wage. Come on, you know. So anyway, let me tell you something about working hospitality. I worked other types of hospitality, like I was a courtesy clerk at a supermarket. Okay, so you're bagging groceries. You have to bag them a certain way so the food stays cold or stays hot, or the heavier things are at the bottom, the eggs are at the top, and all that kind of stuff, so the food doesn't disturb the other food, and everything is weighted perfectly. And it's more of a science than you think it is. You know, it's not like rocket science, but it is more of a science than you think it is. And you want to make sure that things don't shift around in the trunk. You know, when the person's driving home, you want to make sure all the food stays intact and all these kinds of things. And you want to make sure you're doing it in a quick manner. You want to make sure that you can carry it and that the customer can carry it once they get home. So there's a lot more to it than you think it is. And you want to make sure that you do it quickly, and you want to make sure that you're happy, you're smiling, you say certain things at a certain time, and it's more there's more timing than you think it is, right? And there's also things where the customers will ask you questions and they don't understand. See, being in media, a lot of people don't understand this. All right, they will see pictures in the menu. Okay, so they will ask you questions like, why doesn't the food look like the pictures in the menu? And this is true in regular restaurants and fast food restaurants. And a lot of people actually don't know this, and it really surprised me. But I've been asked this in every restaurant I've worked in, and the customers, and it's not just the kids that ask this, it's the grown-ups. They will ask me, why doesn't the food look like the food in the menu? And I'll explain that a lot of the food in the photographs isn't actually food. Okay, it's wax, it's cardboard, it's paper, it's all kinds of different things. That food that you're looking at in the picture isn't exactly food. Okay, it's a lot of camera tricks, it's smoke and mirrors, basically. It's a lot of things, it's a lot of Photoshop. And you'd be surprised how many people actually don't know that. So I said, so I had to kind of explain it. I said it's camera tricks and stuff like that. So I said a lot of your food isn't going to look exactly like that, because a lot of that, some of it is, part of that is food, but some of it actually isn't. And we've kind of changed the colors around and stuff. And I said, actually, I didn't make any of that food and I didn't take the pictures, but what you're looking at in that picture, it isn't actually food. But I go, that's amazing that it's appetizing, right? I mean, they did a lot of camera tricks with that. I go, kind of how they do in the movies with special effects. And, so I have to kind of explain how media works to people. And they're just like, oh, wow, that's amazing. And I'm really surprised how many people who come in to eat don't realize that, because they look at the pictures and their eyes are playing tricks on them, and it's actually extremely appetizing to them. And they're looking at something that is not really food. So I said, so when the chefs are back, they're making your food, they're making something, they're making you real food, and it's going to taste really good, and I hope you really enjoy your meal, and blah, 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 blah. So I say it with a smile and everything like that, and I'm basically explaining you're looking at something that is not real at all, so, and they're complaining to me about it. I'm not the one that prepared your food, I just brought it to you. Or I'm just taking your order, I'm the one taking your money, and it's usually I'm just the one taking the money. I'm very rarely the one bringing you the food, I have to if no one else can, but I'm the one taking your money. I'm the one talking to you. I'm the one, ringing you up. I'm the friendly face you see, but I had nothing to do with the food preparation. I'm not the one taking the picture, but I'm usually just the one talking to you or explaining, how much sugar is in it to you or something like that. I mean, I had nothing to do with the food preparation. Now I'm going to tell you what happens if you are a server, okay? If you are a waitress, the younger the waitress is, the meaner the customers are to her. Okay, if you're a young lady and you're a waitress, the younger you are, and believe it or not, the prettier you are. The younger and prettier you are, the meaner the customers are to you. Okay, so, you have heard of pretty privilege, right? Okay, that does not work when you're a waitress. Okay, so if you're an older waitress and you are just a little bit on the, meaner side or whatever, the customers are not going to play with you, okay? They're just going to be like, they're going to take their food and they're going to like it. They're not going to take things out on you or anything. But if you are a young waitress, if you're a new waitress and you are kind of on the nice looking side, if you're pretty, if you're new, if you're young, the customers are going to take things out on you. Please know, the waitress did not make your food, okay? She took down your order exactly like you gave it to her, all right? If the cooks got it wrong, it was their fault, all right? If they didn't prepare your food properly or they did not give you what you ordered, that was not the waitress's fault. Okay, so you're taking it out on the wrong person, but for some reason, if it's a young lady and she's nice looking or whatever, they will be mean to her. Okay, so if you're young and you're pretty and all this kind of stuff, people are going to be mean. Okay, so the reason that I'm explaining this is because I have a story to tell. Okay, all right. So this is really scary, you guys. All right. So I'm telling this story. I'm explaining this concept for a reason. Okay, because when I worked in the restaurants, I was young. And that's the reason I didn't want to be a waitress, because I knew people were mean. Okay, I watched it happen. And my mom and my Grammy explained it, and that's one of the reasons I just did not want people being mean to me, because when people's blood sugar is low, they are very unreasonable. And I think some of you, who are hypoglycemic or diabetic or whatever, when your blood sugar's low, your mind is, you're not thinking clearly and stuff like that. You know how mean people can be. Okay, and they pick on young girls. I don't know how it is with young guys, but they do pick on young girls. And it's not fair. The waitress has nothing to do with your food. Okay, she took it down exactly how you ordered it. You guys are being mean. Okay, so let me tell you something that happened to a waitress when Zen and I were at a diner the other night. Okay, Zen and I went to the movies the other night. All right, so after we went to the movies, we decided to go get dinner at a diner. Okay, so we said, hey, can you take us to the nearest, this name of this diner? All right, and I'm not going to give you the name of the diner because some stuff went down there, and I don't know, because the police showed up, so I don't know if I should really talk about this because a police report was filed. But it is a chain diner. Okay, Zen and I went to this diner. Okay, we were there, I'm going to say, for about 4 hours, give or take an hour or something. We went to this diner. Maybe I did not realize what a bad neighborhood it was in, but apparently there is a situation. Let me tell you a little bit about Sacramento. Okay, we have a situation where a lot of people are being evicted from their apartments. We have a situation with homelessness here. Okay, not as much in our neighborhood. Okay, but apparently in that area there is a lot of homeless. There's a lot of drug trafficking, and there's a lot of situations with people being evicted from their homes. Okay, so there's a lot of homeless. There's a lot of homeless presence over there. Okay, so and this diner, they're open all night. Okay, and it's a chain diner, so you guys can figure out what I'm talking about. So Zen and I, we order our Lyft. We get dropped off there. We decide, to have our dinner or whatever. We're sitting there, and we're sitting there talking, and we're looking over our medias, and I have my journal, and I'm taking notes, and we're just talking, and we're kind of people watching, and there is a colorful cast of characters in that diner. So the waitress comes and takes our order, and she looks really familiar. And I said, you know what? I think you waited on us last time you were here. And she goes, yeah, you guys look really familiar. And I'm like, how you doing? And she goes, I've been having kind of a rough time of it. And I go, really? What's going on? And all of a sudden this guy comes in, and she starts looking really scared. Okay, so let me describe the waitress. Okay, she looks to be about in her 20s. And she has blue eyes and brown hair, and she's really pretty. Okay, so this guy comes in, and he walks way to the back and sits in her station. Okay, so he's near us, but far away enough to where I'm not like afraid, but he's still in her station, right? So he sits in the back and starts talking about how he wants coffee or whatever. I don't think anything of it, but Zen and I decide that we want some iced tea with lemon, and then decide that we want to look at the menu for a while. So she brings us our drinks or whatever. He says something to her. She looks a little scared, so I'm thinking, oh, what's up with this dude or whatever. I don't think about it. I kind of look at the other people around or whatever. So, she's bringing other people their orders. She says something to him about his coffee or whatever. He's drinking his coffee. And then she says something about, tells him that it's time for him to leave. So I'm thinking, maybe he comes in and he doesn't want to pay for his stuff. So he gets up and stands near the cash register and lights up a cigarette and starts smoking inside the restaurant. Okay, I don't know what the smoking laws are, but nobody's been able to smoke at a restaurant in Sacramento since the early 90s. Okay, so there's been a no smoking law in Sacramento since the early 90s. Okay, so we're in 2023 now. So he just lights up and starts smoking, and I kind of panic and everything like that. So I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm a heart patient. I can't be around smoke. Okay, so I'm like, oh my God, this guy's like smoking, and he's right next to me because we're right next to the register. And I'm like, oh crap. And I look at Zen, I'm like, Zen, this guy's, and Zen starts getting like really mad, right? And so she goes, sir, you need to go. And he just turns around and gives her like this like evil look, and then he just like leaves. And she goes, oh no, I hope it's not going to start again. And I go, are you okay? What do you mean? And she comes up and she goes, that guy has been threatening my life for the past week. And I go, call the cops. I go, he just broke the law. I go, do you want me to tell the police what he did? Like, and you know, that I was a witness, because he's like standing there smoking. And I said, I saw him do it. Do you want me to say something? And she goes, no. She goes, he's been threatening my life for the past week. And I have to report every little thing he does. And I go, well, my fiance and I are YouTubers. Do you mind telling me a little bit about this so I can talk about this? I said, I happen to know you have one of the hardest jobs there is. I go, I don't mean to be rude. Is this a really bad neighborhood? And she goes, yes. We have like, she said, there's a lot of people being evicted right now from their homes. So there's a homeless situation, and people are angry. They're disgruntled. And they're taking it out on everybody around them. And she said, I keep having to ask this man to leave. He comes in, he doesn't want to pay for his coffee, and he comes in, and I've told him to leave, and he threatened my life. And he keeps coming in here, and I keep telling him to leave the restaurant. And so he makes sure he comes in whenever I'm working so he can give me a hard time. And she goes, the thing is I've got 2 children at home. And I'm thinking, okay, this lady is the typical kind of person who gets harassed. Okay, she's young and she's pretty and she's got 2 kids at home. I don't know if she's a single mom or what the deal is, but I'm looking around. I'm like, where is the security guard? This is obviously a really bad neighborhood. If there's a situation where people are being evicted and there's a bunch of homeless people, right? And it is the middle of the night. Okay, so there's a situation. And she goes, it's not just him. I go, okay, so it's not just him. She said, no, he's got a bunch of friends outside, and they come over, and they routinely come up and decide he goes and gets them. So he's apparently got a gang. Okay, they come up and routinely harass her as well. So he's incorporated a bunch of people to come up and bother her too. So it's not just him. So he comes in when he knows it's her shift and bothers her. Okay, so, and all these other people are bothering her as well. There's no security guard. So she calls the police. The police show up, she files a report, and and then the police leave. All right, so, I asked her permission. I said, is it all right if I talk about what happens on my show? And she says, yes, please do, because this is a concern. I'm sure this isn't just happening to me. People feel like they can just walk right into a restaurant and do whatever they please. And she said, it's because these people are being evicted. And they're out on the street, and, surely there's a narcotic situation. And, these people are just desperate and taking it out on everybody. Okay, so this lady is somebody's mother, all right? And she's scared. This man is literally threatening her life, okay? And, she works there. There's no security. She's afraid. And, I watched him come in and hassle her, and he was just standing there smoking. All right, so Zen and I stay there, and the more I look around, the crazier it got. This other guy came in and barricaded himself in the men's room. So the second waitress comes on. Okay. The second waitress was also a young woman, but she was a lot more intimidating than the first one. Okay. The first one wasn't intimidating. The second one, she's more of a gangster than the first one. Okay. So, and she let everybody know that she wasn't going to take anybody's crap. So she kind of, was walking around just kind of, not taking anyone's crap. And she just said, hey, do you mind if I ask you a question? She goes, no. I said, do you feel intimidated by, because I told her, we're YouTubers. I said, do you feel intimidated by the element around here? I go, because I just watched the waitress who had the station before you got here get threatened by this guy who lit up a cigarette in here. She goes, look, I'm really tired of the crap that goes on around here. She goes, I just go around throwing my weight around and just basically don't take anyone's crap. She goes, because I really need this job, and I just, talk a bunch of mess to people. And they just know they better not F with me, basically. So I was like, oh, okay. So I go, so you just kind of, you basically just don't let anyone scare you. She goes, yeah. So I was like, okay, good to know. So I'm like, all right. So this one decided she just wasn't having it. This guy comes in and barricades himself in the bathroom, and so she, other gentlemen customers are trying to come in, and they're trying to get buzzed into the bathroom, and they're trying to go in and use the bathroom, and this guy is barricaded in the bathroom, and so this this new waitress, she finally unlocks the whole deal, goes in there and tells him he better get out. So, of course, he's getting high in there, and she goes into the men's room and removes him. So then she calls the police, and the police take him outside. So that was police call number 2. So by that time, Zen and I were there for 2 hours. Okay. Let's see. Then the couple that were sitting behind Zen and I get up and just come over and start talking to us. I think they were just wondering what we were doing there. We were just eating our burger and onion rings. They're like, they're like, what's your story? They wanted to know. So they decided, I think they wanted to know what our story was, because we were just kind of interviewing people. And I said, well, we're an engaged couple, and we're just on a date, and we're not really, from this area. We're from another area in Sacramento, and we just kind of stopped to get something to eat. And he's like, okay, so you guys are not from around here. I go, well, we're from another area of Sacramento. And they're like, oh, okay. They're like, well, this is a bad neighborhood. And I said, I noticed. Yeah. And they said, well, he goes, well, here's the thing. He goes, I'm a gay guy, and this is my friend, and it was this lady. And he goes, I live in this building, and everyone there is trying to pick a fight with me all the time because I'm gay. And I go, okay. I go, I think what you can do is, I think you can probably get a lawyer if they're messing with you because of your orientation. And I said, where I live, there's a bunch of gay people. Is there some way that you can move over where I live? Because there is, I live where there's a bunch of gay people. I go, no one's going to mess with you there because there's a bunch of gay people. He goes, I can't afford to live with you where you live. And I said, okay. And he goes, plus I have a criminal record, so I have to live where I live. I said, all right, well, I think what people are doing, they're messing with you because of your sexual orientation, and what they're doing to you and calling you out of your name and stuff like that, for being gay. I think that's a hate crime, what they're doing to you. So I think you can probably get some kind of legal representation and get them in trouble for that. And what they're doing is they're trying to get you to fight them and call them names, for whatever they are and that kind of thing. They're just trying to mess with you. They're trying to get you to go to jail or something. They're trying to get you to catch a case. So he said, well, they break into my house and they do all these other things. So then he starts telling me all these crazy stories about things that happen to him. And he goes, and the thing is they keep evicting people from apartments. And I go, well, they're just looking for an excuse to evict you. They're just messing with you. And he goes, yeah, because all these people around here are homeless. They're looking for an excuse to get everybody out of their apartments. And so he's telling me this crazy story. And so I just look at Zen and I go, Zen, our lives are so nice compared to all these people. And he's like, yeah, you're right. So the night just wears on, and all these really colorful characters start coming in. Our night and that diner is like, our whole night is like a movie directed by Quentin Tarantino. It's insane. So we're there for a few hours, and everyone who comes in is, either telling a story, or and it's a scary story, or someone's doing something illegal. And I mean, I think the cops got called like 4 times the whole time we were there. And someone's talking to us, and it's telling us something weird. And I think they're just looking at us like, what are you guys doing here? And we're just sitting there wondering the same thing, and everything's just getting more and more interesting. And I'm hearing, people just, everyone's talking about like gangster stuff, like the whole time we're there. And I'm like, this is really, we just finally decided it was time to go home. So we call a Lyft. So the Lyft driver picks us up, right? So we get in the Lyft, and the Lyft driver's like, whoa, I'm so glad to pick you folks up. And I'm like, really? I said, you couldn't have had more of an interesting night than we had. He goes, really? What do you mean? And I said, well, we were just in that diner. And he goes, yeah. I go, and it was a bunch of homeless people getting high in the bathroom, and this guy threatening the waitress's life, and all this other stuff, and these people talking about trying to bait each other into catching a case. And I was just, so I just kind of said, it was like one of those Quentin Tarantino type deals. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I just picked up a guy from a casino, and he was talking about all the coke he did. I go, oh yeah, well, you can pretty much score, whatever you want at a casino. And he goes, and he was doing this, and he was doing that, and it seemed like he was more on this drug or that drug. And I go, well, he was probably on more than one kind of drug. You can get anything you want at a casino. And he goes, and he's trying to get me to drive here and there, and then I got lost, and he made me do this, and I was scared. And I go, well, you don't have to, you don't have to drive him. I mean, you could have dropped him off and refused to drive him, And I go, the story he told me just went along with all the weird stuff that was going on there at the restaurant. And he goes, yeah, it's a full moon, right? It has been for the past 3 nights. And I go, yeah, that kind of made sense. And we get home, and Zen was like, this has been one of the weirdest nights of my life. I go, me too. And I go, I really hated working hospitality. I hated working at a restaurant. I hated like all the stuff that used to go wrong. It's like, it's not like, I mean, I'm a people person, but I really hated how people used to just come in and act weird. And I mean, it wasn't like people used to, they didn't come in and threaten my life or anything like that. But I mean, people were just weird when they were hungry, and they would just, they'd come in and be weird in the bathroom, and they would just come in. It was just weird. And I didn't work in a bad neighborhood, but weird stuff would still happen. People would come through the drive-thru and say weird stuff, and I would just be like, okay, let me just take your money and give you what you need. Here's your food, bye, But the thing is, that waitress should not have had to go through that. All right. There should be a security guard there. They should just escort people out like that. And that other waitress, she should not have to be a badass. She should not have to like bounce people out of there. She should not have to go into the men's bathroom and haul a drug addict out of there, who's using in the stall. I mean, that's crazy. She shouldn't have to be like that. And that other waitress shouldn't have to be afraid. So, if you're watching, you guys are so brave. Your job should not have to be that hard. I mean, I thought my job was hard when I worked in hospitality. I'm so sorry, you guys. But thank you for serving us that night. And God bless you. And thank you everybody for watching, and I will see you in the next content. Good night.